So I did this video about 5 things that I loved about Apex Legends. However, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, and that stands true for Apex. So without further ado, let's get into 5 terrible things about Apex Legends. By the way, I think number 5 is the absolute worst thing about Apex, so I'd advise you stick around until then. But right now, leave a comment down below about what you think the worst thing about Apex is, and then see if I agreed with you later in the video. With that out of the way, let's rag on Apex. The first terrible thing about Apex Legends is that there is always connection issues. I cannot tell you how many times I'm in the middle of a game and I'll suddenly freeze for a solid 3 seconds and then I get this screen. It usually becomes a serious problem about once every season for a period of about 1 to 2 weeks until the Apex developers finally come out with a fix for it. In addition to this, and in the same connectivity issues genre, every now and then there was a no-reg issue. In case you don't know, a no-reg is when you shoot your gun and you hear the hit register and you see the number but the enemy isn't damaged. This doesn't happen super often, luckily, and the last really widespread case of this happening on a large scale was back in Season 5 with heavy weapons only. But when this does happen, it causes mass irritation, with people going so far as not playing ranked that season because it's such a problem. Numerous dose for bad Apex features are useless character abilities. Hey Apex devs, if you're watching this, then give Pathfinder back a passive ability. It's not a passive ability to be able to use a survey beacon if literally every recon legend can. Unfortunately, things like this are super common in Apex, and they aren't changed for a really long time, if ever. Another example of this is Lifeline's care package. It takes 6 whole minutes to charge to 100%, and by that time, you'll usually have a purple armor anyway, which is the best thing you can get from it. And this isn't some new issue. The care package has been around since day 1, and it's only gotten slightly changed in 2 years since Apex's launch, even with the constant player dissatisfaction. In the same topic, there is such a gap in the usefulness of Legends. There are legends like Gibraltar who can throw down an unbreakable shield for 12 seconds, and Bloodhound who gets literal wall hacks for him and his whole team for 4 seconds. But then you got legends like Fuse who shoots 2 tiny grenades that can do like 50 damage if you get lucky. Now unfortunately there's no way to make every legend's abilities equally balanced, so there will always be some abilities that rise to the top, and Respawn has said a couple times that some legends will just have more viable kits than others by nature. But I still think that this is a problem that could be at least toyed with. One of Apex's problems in this field is that if they make a change, they feel like they need to wait until next season to reverse it. As a result, they are more unwilling to experiment with legends than they would be if they decided to release really strong legends and then nerf them in the first couple of days rather than putting out weak legends and then buffing them a season later. And to their credit, they're starting to do this more, with Horizon as a clear example of being released as a strong legend who then got dialed back later in the season. We want more of this, Apex, not less. Don't stop now. For number 3, we have a very simple one. No solos. Solos were added to Apex in August of 2019 for a couple of weeks, and they were met with a roar of positive reaction from the Apex Legends community. But the cheers turned to boos when Respawn removed solos from Apex and announced that they were never coming back. Solos was arguably the most popular Apex Legends game mode of all time, so it was understandable that so many people were upset. To be fair, props to Respawn for sticking to their guns. They've come out and said that they aren't adding solos because the data shows that it was unhealthy for the game and ruins the team-based shooter that they want Apex to be. That being said, literally everyone wants it, and Apex has changed so much since 2019 that who knows how solos would impact the game now. Apex tried to fix this to some extent by adding an option to solo queue or ready up without a teammate. However, a 1 vs 2 or 1 vs 3 experience, while still having the potential to be fun, will never be the same as a classic shooter 1v1. Please add this in, Apex. Some of us don't have friends to play with. By the way guys, just a reminder, if you've gotten anything out of this video so far, please consider subscribing. It really helps me out, it doesn't cost you anything, and it makes me feel good about myself. Thanks. On to number 4, only one number away from the worst thing about Apex Legends. Number 4 is the weapon balancing. Now, if you've watched my video about 5 things I love about Apex, and if you haven't, I'll put it right here in the right hand corner, I talked about the gunplay, and I said that it was one of the best things about Apex. And it is. I truly think that the guns and the gameplay in Apex are superb. But right now, and for the history of Apex, out of the 26 guns that are currently in the game, there are 6 guns that everyone plays with for the most part, with occasional guns joining or falling away from these 6. In my opinion, these 6 guns are the R301, the Wingman, the Peacekeeper, the R99, the Spitfire, and more recently, the Volt. And we'll see where the Bosic bow lines up sometime in the future. Not too sure about that one yet. Also, just to clarify, I know the guns like the R99 and the Peacekeeper have both been in the care package, but even then they were used anytime they were found. So anyway, I think a simple fix to this is that Apex needs to buff different guns. Why not give the RE45 a bigger mag, or give the 30-30 repeater less bullet drop? Like the Legends, experiment a little. Try something new for a change. One last clarification, some guns have been on the list in the past, like the Hemlock back in Season 7, or the Havoc back in Season 4, a few semi-OGs out there. Man, was that really over a year ago? Where's the time gone? But the reason those guns aren't on the list anymore is because Respawn has nerfed them accordingly, and some of them aren't even good anymore. Alright boys, the one you've all been waiting for. In my humble opinion, one high school freshman's thoughts, I think that the worst thing in Apex Legends Season 9 is the way the players act. More and more recently, we have people who do trolly things like leave the game when you take their favorite legend, or are toxic to their teammates for no real reason, and the one crime that, don't lie, we've all done, leaving the game when we get knocked. This happens to me about once every 3 to 4 games at least, and as much as I hate to admit it, I do it all the time too. I'm not proud of it, but if I've got a level 30 Lifeline who walks past me 8 or 9 times when I'm knocked, I'll leave without a second thought. But think about the downsides to this, boys. If this gets worse, there will probably be a penalty for leaving a normal game, not just ranked. How will new players learn the game when no one sticks around to play with them? We need to embrace the noobs, not cast them out. Now, all that being said, I'm not changing anything about the way I play, and I know most of you won't either. But I think that theoretically, we should. And that makes me feel like a better person. Also, I feel like lots of people are going to disagree with me on this, and admittedly, it's a pretty interesting choice for the worst thing in Apex. It's not even something that Respawn can really fix, only something that they can punish people for. So, please tell me the worst thing about Apex in the comments below. I'll respond to every single one, depending on when you watch this, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Subscribe and like if you liked the video. Catch you guys on the next one.
Like birds, boys. GG's.